name is Hill-Mischlich. I have been doing Taekwondo since the age of 7. I'm 44 years old, and I'm a 4th degree black belt.
Taekwondo is a strike-based martial art originating in Korea around 2,000 years ago.
Taekwondo is a martial art, one that can be used for self-defense or just as fun as a sport.
Taekwondo is a combat sport where two individuals, one in a red hogu and one in a blue hogu, fight.
Taekwondo is a martial arts sport that mostly involves kicking.
What makes Taekwondo unique is it's very explosive, very quick, reactive, nimble.
You use mostly your legs for kicking, and yeah, that's it. It's a fighting sport.
I've always been fascinated with the martial arts, particularly kicking. When I was 7, there was an after-school program that actually offered some Taekwondo classes. So after talking to my mom and asking her to sign up, she agreed that was a good idea and signed me up. Rocky and Sue Barrows were the ones that started the after-school program, and he had a traditional studio, Mountain West Taekwondo, and that's soon after joining the after-school program. That's where I ended up full-time, and Rocky was my instructor from the time I was 7 years old all the way, probably till around the age of 20.
Well, my name's Darren Carr. Been doing martial arts for almost 40 years. When I got started, I had this creepy feeling I might not stop.
My name's Steve Wen. I started Taekwondo when I was 9. Started out in this lady's living room before I linked up with Brett and Darren at Mountain West Taekwondo with Rocky Barrows.
Rocky actually was doing an after-school program. The kids were running around and it was crazy. Shortly after I met Brett and Steve, I was like, this is something I can do now. This is my home, and immediately I got connected with these guys.
Rocky kind of took me under his wing, and as he did all of us, he treated us like we were his boys, and he would discipline us at times like we were his boys, and there was an expectation and a level of respect that, he was kind of like a father figure to a lot of us.
He knew I'd like to fight. He would show up at my wrestling matches, so it wasn't just like a Taekwondo relationship. He was, an additional father figure, and he was there for me.
Training with Rocky was different because he's such a no BS kind of guy. He was all about the heart. He was about the spirit, and really, really going out there. It wasn't about like, oh, switch feet and make sure you move off to the right. And then he was just go out there and kick ass. He really wanted you to know when you got done, win or lose, that you left it all out there.
My favorite part of Taekwondo was sparring. I liked the combativeness, and Rocky was the perfect instructor for me for that purpose, because he loved it as well, and just also a willingness to work hard and just a toughness that we both possessed.
My name is Rocky Barrows. I'm a 6th Dan black belt in Taekwondo, and I got in the arts in 1972, and I didn't receive my 1st degree black belt from the International Taekwondo Federation until 1979, so nothing was given to us back in those days. Everything had to be earned, Throughout the years, I saw Taekwondo turn into big business. I guess you could call me a rebel in a way, I always wanted to kind of stay away from the business side of it and just, give the gift of teaching to the people that I thought deserved it, and Brett happened to be one of those.
Brett's just always been scrappy. Never cared about how big, how small, who the person is in front of him. He's always willing to get scrappy and go for it and try as hard as he can to hopefully come out on top. And if not, he's ready to go again, to give it a try again.
When it comes to thinking of a word and thinking about Brett, scrappy was the word I thought of before Steve even said it. When two people come up with the exact same word, you know that they're on something.
People like Steve and Darren, they've always kind of been there to believe in me when I didn't believe in myself. We started late in our high school kind of career experimenting with some kickboxing. And that's really what I was doing. Instead of Taekwondo, kind of in my early college years because there wasn't a lot of access to Taekwondo. I won 3 titles. I won the Western State of Colorado kickboxing title when I was 19. Then I won the ISKA, which is the International Kickboxing Association. It was a sanctioned. I won 2 different titles at 2 different weight classes, Colorado titles. And I did it for, pretty seriously for 3 or 4 years. And I remember entering it was like a state Taekwondo tournament. I hadn't been really training in Taekwondo, but Darren coached me. Darren's always been there to coach me whenever I needed, and he coached me at the state tournament and, pointed out that I had some potential. I think you could really, do this, and let's learn more about sport Taekwondo. And so he kind of set that fire back in, that focus away from the kickboxing, and kind of got me back into focusing on Taekwondo. I graduated from college and moved to Colorado Springs for a teaching job. And at that time, Taekwondo was booming. And Colorado Springs having access to the Olympic Training Center was a big draw to some quality athletes. So I started training with actually a former Olympian Barb Kunkel. She was the first woman to go to the Olympics for the sport of Taekwondo from the United States. She had some great fighters, so I had a good team to train with. So I just learned a lot from them. I mean, I was fighting high-level fighters and doing well. I had shared with Master Kunkel that it was my dream to compete overseas and make a team and represent my country, and she knows that, and she actually, years ago before it ever happened, she told me that would happen for me. She told me that. As I'm feeling pretty good about myself, I entered a local tournament where they didn't have a lot of the same people my weight, so I did a demo match against a black belt who was about 40 pounds heavier than myself. He was coming in, and I went to throw a defensive roundhouse kick. It's called Padachagi, and I hit my opponent hard, but I hit him and didn't get full extension on my leg, and that combined with his weight coming down on me just caused my ACL to snap in my right knee, and I hurt it. And I tried to get up, and I couldn't stabilize on my leg. I continued the fight. I don't know why I did that, but I finished the fight and was able to stand and kind of kick with my left leg. But I went to the doctor right after, and my ACL was completely torn. My friend Simon had actually tore his ACL about 6 months prior to that, and he had it replaced with cadaver tissue. Athletes were told they could get back, to what they were doing within 6 months. So I did the same route. I got a doctor, he repaired my ACL using cadaver tissue, and I did the physical therapy aggressively. I wanted to get back as quickly as possible, and it was almost 6 months to the date after my first surgery that I entered nationals. Feeling pretty good. Went out there, won my first match. My knee felt great. As I was warming up for my second match, I tuck jumped, and when I landed, I heard it pop. I kind of knew what had happened, but I just kind of pretended like it wasn't real. So I continued fighting. I took second place. I had to bow out in the finals because my knee just had swelled. And I went back and did the exact same surgery again. Gave it a year this time. After that second surgery, same thing, cadaver tissue, give it a full year, it'll be good to go. I entered another big competition and tore it. First competition pack. So that was hard. That was hard, knowing that I'd given up a year and a half already. When I'm in like my prime time to try to make this national team, and tore my knee twice, and now what am I gonna do? So I got referred to the Olympic surgeon, Dr. Walden, he actually did both of Master Kunkel's knees, ironically. And he told me I needed to use my own tissue. That was just the only way to do it. And by that time, not only was my ACL torn, but my PCL was torn, and my meniscus was torn. So my knee was just pretty tore up. But he used my hamstring, he used my patellar tendon. He promised me that if I let him do what needed to be done on my knee, that I could beat the hell out of my knee and get back to Taekwondo, and I believed him. Again, I pushed through physical therapy. I got back, and he was right. Using my own tissue was what I needed. After my third surgery, I continued to train hard. I continued to train with top-level coaches. I placed at nationals a few times. I never did end up making national team. I was a single father at the time. I had my boys, and they traveled with me to Taekwondo practices, to physical therapy. Both of them, in order for me to continue to train at the level that I needed to, at least at that time I had to travel. And so yeah, they would go with me. And I know that some people might see that as selfish, but I see it differently. I see it that they're seeing their dad just go after what he's passionate about and not give up, no matter how difficult. And I think that they learned a lot from that.
When I was younger, I thought it was the coolest thing. I was always excited to go see Master Andre and go train with the bigger guys. I always wanted to go and practice with them. I always felt bigger than I was. That's how I've always been.
I just remember traveling with him to Denver. We would always go up there, and it was cool watching my dad train.
I'm really proud of who they are today, and I think that them growing up, traveling around, training with their dad, and I think it was good. Also at this time, I was getting into my late 30s, where I'm competing against kids that are 18, 19, early 20s. I tried to be the hardest worker no matter who I was training with, and I would try to outwork these kids, but there just comes a point when you just can't keep up physically. And I was at nationals, I was 37 years old at nationals, trying to make the world-class team. This was at AAU nationals, and I drew a fighter who was ranked 20th in the world, from Niger, and he was a very tall fighter. And I had a good first round. I could tell he was really good. I made a mistake in the second round. I know what my mistake was. I went to cut with the side I normally don't cut with, and I had my guard down, and he just timed it perfectly. He knocked me out with a reverse hook kick. So to get knocked out, in front of your family, in front of your, that was hard for me. That was hard for me to come back from. When I got hired at Palmer Lake Elementary School 20 years ago, during the interview, they specifically wanted to know what was something unique that I could bring to the community, and that was Taekwondo. Me being able to bring Taekwondo and introduce it to them in PE class, and then for those that are really wanted to learn more about it, be able to offer Tri-Lakes Taekwondo as an after-school program for everyone who wants to learn Taekwondo regardless of their income.
The after-school program is something that gives him life. It's part of his purpose. There's no doubt about that.
It gives me a sense of purpose, for sure. I definitely know that it's valued by the students and by the community in general. Taekwondo is my passion, and teaching is what I do, and that has just allowed me to put both my gifts together and make a living out of it. It's definitely very dear to my heart. There was a short period of time where I moved my program out of the school and was renting a facility in the hopes of maybe getting some more students and being able to expand the business. But I was giving away a lot of free lessons. I was giving away so much that I was having problems making the rent payment. Honestly, at the point where I was almost ready to not teach Taekwondo.
I have two boys that are very different in personalities completely, and I wasn't sure what to get them into as far as sports and things like that. My goal was to find something that I felt like they could connect with, that they could carry with them for the rest of their life. For whatever reason, martial arts came to mind, and we were part of a co-op that actually offered karate. After I got them kind of in that class for a while, we ended up moving. So I started looking around at different schools in Colorado Springs. When I moved here, I'd heard that this was the Taekwondo Mecca, so I was very excited about the opportunities that would be here. When we arrived and tried out some schools and instructors, I found out it was a little bit different than what I'd anticipated. The schools that we tried, it just didn't work for my kids. So as I searched around continually, I actually found Brett online with a video that he had done with his website.
Cherie sent me an email describing her situation with the boys moving from Texas, wanting to get their black belts, and the struggles that they had had finding a school to meet their needs here. A couple weeks later, they came and they observed a class, and I was busy teaching the class, taking care of my kids. I think I was holding Bodie and Blaine was running around. I had a lot on my plate, and I just wanted them to see a good lesson when they came in. And as I looked up, I didn't see them. They weren't there. So I assumed that they weren't really interested.
The boys actually picked him as their instructor.
It turns out that they were very interested. I guess Carson and Davis said, this is the instructor for me. They liked what they saw. It was quality Taekwondo, but it also had a wide variety of age levels and kids being kids, and so a little bit less traditional Taekwondo, but something where you're going to learn every day. They became full-time students. They became model students, and they both eventually became instructors. I was able to give them their black belt as they earned. I didn't know Cherie and I were going to end up together. All I knew is that I was this close to stopping my program, and not only just having Carson and Davis there to really just kind of boost me by somebody who needed and valued what I had to offer, but Cherie was she was somebody that would help me with my kids while I was wearing all of these other hats.
I didn't see this one coming. Didn't see it at all. My boys picked him as an instructor first. We were in classes regularly or whatnot, and there was just this moment where I'm sitting there minding my own business, reading my Kindle ebook, and the boys are doing class, and he just literally looked at me to the side and just handed me, his 3-year-old.
One day I was holding Bodie teaching class, and I hadn't even had a conversation more than a few words with her, but I just walked over and just handed Bodie to her, and he was good with it, she was good with it, and then I was able to really put all of my focus into teaching, and with Cherie's advice, and I decided to get out of the athletic center and get back into the after-school program where I could continue to give the services that I know were important.
It was kind of this odd connection, like, wait, maybe we could help each other, not just Taekwondo, but in life. The thing that really just struck me was his passion. I saw this inner spirit that was not being fully lit. And I remember having a brief conversation with him about that. I just off the cuff just gave him the book, Rick Warren's Purpose Driven Life. And I said, it might be kind of odd or awkward, but I think you have greater purposes than what you know. He ended up reading the book. We talked about it a lot, off and on, just casual chat. But The connection just got stronger and stronger. It was probably a month or two after we met that he was going to compete in the US Open in Chicago. I knew Chicago like the back of my hand. So I was like, you know what? I'm going. It was a last minute thing. I called my parents. I said, I need you to come watch the boys. I'm going to Chicago. It was just a moment in life that you just... It changed everything. We stayed in Chicago for about a week, and it's probably the happiest time.
She saw my passion, she supported it, and as long as I would accept her help, she was going to give it to me.
COVID stopped everything. It changed the world. There's no arguing that. It fascinates me in life, the timing of things. Right after my daughter's birth is really when COVID shut everything down. So I didn't have a choice. Like I was at home, and it was a blessing because I was able to be there. You know, my daughter was born a month premature, and I was able to be there full time, which I know meant a lot to my wife. It meant a lot to me, and I just was a dad, and I had to work from home. Schools were shut down. It was an interesting year, even going back, not able to do the Taekwondo program the first year I went back to work. It was still shut down for a year. And so at that time, I really wasn't doing a lot of Taekwondo. But, you know, after some time of being just away from it, I just realized something was missing in my life. And I didn't know how to get it back because there's no way now. It is just too much, having a family and having to do that for so many years. So just being creative and talking to my wife, and she actually had the idea to build this studio that we're sitting in. And this used to be a garage, and it had nothing but junk in it. And the answer is so simple. It's so simple, but it took something like COVID to kind of start that journey. So we built this studio, and I didn't know I was gonna compete when we built this studio. But Carson and Davis, my two oldest, they started bartering Taekwondo lessons with Canaan. They both mentioned to me numerous times that Canaan, he was interested in fighting. He wanted to fight. They invited you over, and I started kind of popping my head, and I didn't know what to expect. But I'm like, wow, you know, he's got some talent. This guy's got some talent. And you wanting to fight wasn't just something you were saying, because you were willing to get in there and spar with us, 3 black belts, you know. Even after we started sparring, I started showing you a few things. You just expressed to me how badly you wanted to compete, and I know you were bugging Carson and Davis about it. And so I had the means to make that happen. I knew what to do. I still hadn't planned on competing. I wanted to coach you. I was getting a lot of joy. Some of the same feelings you get from competing, you get from somebody that you're training that's really, you know, shares your passion. And it's probably like a week before the tournament, I just decided to sign up with you for an AAU national qualifying tournament. And we both qualified. We both went to nationals. By that time, you had become a really good fighter. You had a couple other tournaments under your belt. And yeah, that was the year I finally, you know, after 30 plus years, 35 years trying to make a national team, they now had a national team for masters athletes, and I won the tournament and made the U.S. national Taekwondo team and got invited to compete at the Asia Pacific Masters Games in Korea, and that's, you know, that's where it came full circle for me. I was excited, of course, I was honored, but I didn't even know if I was gonna be able to go. I didn't know if I was gonna be able to afford to go. I didn't know if, you know, I mean, I have a 2-year-old. Then, you know, I guess my wife she just knew how important it was to me. And So she pretty much informed everybody that we were gonna make it happen.
The time for anything is always now. This is the time, and we're doing this. This is the path. This is what you've worked hard for. You can and will do it. Don't you get it? You're going to win.
If I have this opportunity, I am not going to go to Korea with anything less than the hopes of winning. One of the things I've always taken into my fights with me is I've always tried to be more prepared, better conditioned. It's not the only thing that you need, but I was going to be prepared for this tournament. It was also different because it was the first time where most of my training was not under another coach. It wasn't at a different school. I had to have the motivation to do it at my home. So I just had to get creative about how to make that happen. And then when Canaan started training in here and wanting to fight, I had somebody that I could fully let out the aggression that I needed to in order to prepare for this tournament. And we started training at other schools as well. Master Hong, Master Yosevani have some very talented fighters that I was able to train with, and they gave me a lot of great skills in preparation for Korea. I took advantage of every opportunity. I did everything that I could to prepare to win this tournament. Everything that's happened in my career started coming back to me. I wanted to be present. I wanted to be just totally psychologically prepared as well as physically for the fight. And so that was my biggest fear, was that I wouldn't be there able to handle the moment, I guess, and that I would lose because of that. And I didn't want to lose because of that. We left here like 4 in the morning. We sat on the airplane for an hour in Denver before we even took off. We landed in Dallas and it was minutes before our next flight took off. Then we were on that plane for 15 hours. And that was something that was very new to me. I'd never flown overseas before. And so 15 hours on the plane was a long journey. When we landed in Korea, ended up being a 4-hour bus ride to pick up my credentials to compete. We'd been traveling already, for 20 hours. And we had to catch another bus. I believe it was an additional 3 hours until we arrived at our destination in Miju at the Taekwondo one. The next morning, we're both excited, but we're both exhausted. We're in this magical place, and it really was. I use the word magical because it was magical, just beautiful, beautiful facility. And so we both woke up early the next morning. I had some team pictures I needed to do and weigh-ins that day. I wanted to enjoy every moment of the trip, but my first objective was the competition. And so I didn't want to sacrifice anything. I needed to get a good night's sleep, so I missed opening ceremonies, which would have been an additional 6 hours on the bus. And I had to fight the next day.
His mental battle has always been his challenge. He is the only one that can defeat himself. His success didn't happen when he was a young 22-year-old. He's had times where he's been very down that he didn't accomplish those things younger, but I've pointed out that a lot of people that he's known in Taekwondo did accomplish those things, and they don't do Taekwondo anymore. And they haven't done it since they accomplished those goals. And again, I have to go back to God's purposes. I think that's what is so beautiful about this story of his.
The years of Taekwondo, since I was 7 years old and trying to make nationals and not qualifying, and then finally qualifying, and then getting back into it, and then getting your knee torn, and it just kind of I was overcome with emotion. I was very emotional. I'm glad you were there, because I needed somebody that I could just lay it all out there to and get it out. And I did. Once I got all that out of my system, when we got to the arena, I actually felt pretty good. First time I saw my opponent was actually at weigh-ins. I'm usually one of the taller fighters in my weight class, and he was a little bit taller than myself. So I noticed that. I watched him warm up. I think I made a point to give a really good warm up in front of him and his team. I wanted to definitely get in his head a little bit. We got in there to the holding area. It's one of the most relaxed equipment checks I've ever been to. We waited there next to each other. We got our chest gear on, we got our headgear. I remember being nervous that the headgear would be too big for me, but they had every size, you know, that you could imagine. That was like my biggest anxiety, was the headgear was gonna be too big and it was gonna like get over my eyes. And once I got that headgear and walked out to my ring, I felt good. Went out there, I bowed to my opponent. They were extremely respectful, extremely, you know, sportsmanlike, and we started the fight. At first, I was a little bit frustrated because I was hitting. The KPMP is hard to score on. If your foot is not clean on that chest gear, it's not gonna register, even if you're hitting hard. And so I was landing what I thought were points, but they weren't registering. And my opponent was pretty good with his defense. So it was a chess match. He was back and forth. He was doing a lot of grabbing and holding, and not a lot of that was getting called, which I'm okay with the referee letting the athletes fight. I'd rather have that than an overly judgmental referee with ticky-tack penalties. But he was grabbing a lot. He lost a point in the first round, and actually that was the only score in the first round. I won 1-0. My coach, he told me, he said, I know what you're trying to do. I was trying to land head kicks. Head kicks are what I needed to land, because if you hit the head, you don't have to hit it at a correct pressure, you know, and you score the points. Plus, if you get a knockout or you daze your opponent, that's obviously going to be beneficial in the fight. And so he was just giving me some advice on how I could make my distance better to land the head kick that I had failed to land in the first period. And so in the second period, after about a minute of the same, I finally found that opportunity to get my opponent moving backwards, and I landed a hard axe kick to his face, and it stuck on his face. And I pushed down after the initial contact, and that kick actually registered twice on the headgear, because I just wanted to smash it, and I did. At that point, I think I'm up 8-0, and we continue the round, and right at the end of the round, I finally found my distance to land a good body kick, and I scored. And so I went in to the third round up 10-0. And then I was in my zone. In slow motion, I went out there immediately and landed a nice axe kick to his face in round 3. He was still game though, he was still ready to fight, and I spun when I shouldn't have, and he got a head kick on me. It wasn't hard, but it was enough to register a score. After that, he started to fight a little bit more. He wasn't doing as much grabbing, which I liked, and that, unfortunately for him, did present another opportunity to get kicked in the face. And I landed a good hard shot right, you know, at the end of the third round, and ended up winning 18-3. I felt like I could have had moments of more exciting action. I did what I had to do to win that gold medal. I got to drape the American flag over my body, and I got to receive a world title, a gold medal in Korea, rather than excited like when I won the AAU national tournament. And I mean, you would think that that's what I would be doing there, but I was actually just thankful. So I didn't like jump up and down like I probably should have, but I was just thankful. I just thanked God for allowing me to experience what I just did. And yeah, it was pretty special.
The moment I found out he won the Masters game, I felt a tremendous amount of peace and joy for him. And my first thought was, of course he did.
I remember staying up the night that I knew he was competing. I stayed up till like 4 a.m. or something. But hearing that he won, like, literally brought a tear to my eye. It was something that I knew was gonna happen, but like, just having it happen really just struck me in a different way.
During his fight, I couldn't find or figure out how to watch the live stream, but I caught it at the very end. I just saw like his hand got raised and I saw that he won. I was so happy. I was like, I'm so proud that he won. So I had to rewatch it to actually watch the fight, but I already knew that he won while I was watching it. But I was so proud, I was so happy.
In that ring in Korea, we watched Brett live the life that he wanted. What's very important about Brett's story in particular is his relationship with everybody around him that brought him to that point. Because anyone who says that they got to the top or their ultimate goal with no help is a liar. It doesn't happen. If someone thinks that, then they're just ignoring what's going on around them. And Brett didn't. He understands that in order to live life, you need the people around you. You need the world around you, and you have to have trust in that. And just as you have trust in the world to help you live your life, so too are you part of the world that helps other people live theirs. So I think those are some aspects in my life that I'm gonna maintain from watching Brett.
And that's sort of what martial arts does, is you get started for exercise or self-defense, or you want to learn to fight or something, and then you realize it's so much more. And it's really the relationships that it comes down to, and that's what's really sort of kept me going. Even to this day, sometimes I try to think of doing something else with my life, and not that I can't imagine doing anything else, as much as the relationships that I've developed here is very, very important to me.
I'm excited to keep this journey going, and I'm only getting better. That's the message. Don't give up on who you are, no matter what anybody else tells you to do, and surround yourself with those who believe in you.
Truly, he sets the most impeccable example of an indomitable spirit. He refuses to give up. He will not accept no. As I've said, his worst enemy is himself. And so if he can go into any match knowing that he has already won, he will win.